University Technology Malaysia Research Management Center webinar on European funding. We would like to discuss the opportunity about Horizon Europe so that we can move from here, do the preparation and everything. My name is Nur Haida Muhammad Su'aib and I'm from School of Computing, Faculty of Engineering, University Technology Malaysia, and I will moderate the session today. So with me today, we are truly honored to have Dr. Susanna Renzo-Bazu, the Regional Project Manager for the Asian region for UREXers worldwide. And good morning, Dr. Susanna. And Dr. Susanna will share some introduction on Horizon Europe. I think some of you are well aware of the previous funding called Horizon 2020. And Horizon Europe is the succession of Horizon 2020. And it has been officially officiated in February 2021. And besides introduction to Horizon Europe, we hope to cover Marie Sklodowska-Curie Action and also European Research Council funding, all the opportunity and perhaps how UREXers ASEAN can help you. So we will have, hopefully we can have a question and answer session towards the end. So before the talk ends, you can start to type your question. If the question is quite general, I will try to answer so that Dr. Susanna can attend to more crucial questions. So without further ado, I would like to invite Dr. Susanna to give her talk on Horizon Europe, MSCA and ERC opportunities. So over to you, Dr. Susanna.
Thank you so much, Nur Haida, for the lovely introduction and a very warm welcome to all of you, and thank you for joining us today for this session. Yes, as Nur Haida has said, I am regional representative or coordinator for the UREXers project. I'll also talk about the UREXers project in my presentation because I do think this is a wonderful resource tool for everyone who is interested in finding out what's happening in Europe in research and innovation and how to participate. I will start sharing my screen. Let me just quickly pick the right presentation. Got it. Sorry, share. There it is. Okay. So I hope you can see this now. Nur Haida, is it visible?
Yes, yes.
Perfect. So thank you so much. So I'll be giving you a very brief introduction to Horizon Europe, and then I will focus on the MSCA opportunities and also on the ERC opportunities. Now, Horizon Europe is a huge beast, so to say. So I'm trying to just give you a general introduction in what it is without too much detail, because a lot of the detail, I think, is just causing unnecessary confusion. As Nur Haida said, Horizon Europe is the framework program of the European Commission for research and innovation. So it's basically a big funding program for research and innovation that is managed by the European Commission. But of course, the money that's inside the budget comes from the EU member states and from those countries that are associated to the European research area. The program has a budget of around 100 billion euros and it will run for 7 years. So each of these framework programs always runs for 7 years. And as we've heard, it is the successor program to Horizon 2020. It was launched in February and officially launched again just now in June with the first annual work program for 2021 and 2022 just being launched. So the first calls, around 2,000 of those, are currently open for application. this is what this beast looks like. And for those of you that are familiar with Horizon 2020, you will notice it looks very similar. It is again organized according to pillars. So we have the first pillar here on the left, the so-called excellent science pillar, which very much is dedicated to career development of researchers and frontier research. We have the second pillar in the middle, which is probably where most changes have taken place. It is now called the Global Challenges and European Industrial Competitiveness pillar. And you can see it's organized according to different scientific disciplines and topics. And we have the third pillar, Innovative Europe. So at the fringes, then there are other funding programs on the left-hand side. This is related to defense research. On the right-hand side, this is related to nuclear science. What we are interested in is really the middle bit. The excellence pillar, as I said, is very similar to what we've had before. It supports frontier research that is defined and driven by researchers themselves, by the European Research Council grants. I will talk about them later on. And the second main funding program in the excellence pillar are the Marie Skłodowska Career Action. So once again, this is career development training, the opportunity for researchers as individuals to do their research. And if you look here, oops, there we go. Who can benefit from the excellence pillar? And I think this is important. This is funding very much for individual researchers. So under the European Research Council grants, this is various funding programs depending on your level of seniority, how much research experience you already have, the types of grants that are available, starting grants, consolidator grants, and advanced grants for individual applicants of all nationalities and all scientific disciplines. The key overriding criterion here for evaluation is scientific excellence. As I said, this is about frontier science, pushing the boundaries of your scientific discipline. The Marie Skłodowska Career Actions once again offer opportunities for individual researchers, again of all nationalities and all scientific disciplines, to obtain funding either to pursue doctoral studies or postdoctoral research. But there's also a funding tool in there, which is called staff exchanges. It was previously called RISE, which is an opportunity for research groups to partner with counterparts in Europe and across the world for exchange of knowledge and working on joint projects. Again, I'll talk about this later in the presentation. So the emphasis here is on research for individual applicants. The big amount of money is really in the second pillar, as we've seen a couple of slides ago. This is the Global Challenges and European Industrial Competitiveness pillar. Now, what Europe has been trying to do with this funding program is to be a lot more strategic in how the money is being spent. So there's a lot of political backgrounds surrounding this particular pillar and what the funder is trying to achieve with this. So this funding is addressing major global challenges, climate change, aging societies, etc. But it's also very much aimed at, as the title says, making Europe competitive in terms of technology and innovation. So each project that wins funding under that pillar must contribute to addressing these global challenges, and also, and that is important, showing a clear value for society. So there's a move away from doing research within your own silo and your own specific scientific niche, but you really must apply your research to addressing these challenges and being of value to society at large. there's also a big move towards interdisciplinarity, and each project must at least demonstrate the attempt to include humanities and social sciences in their research. Even though you come from a pure science background, you will have to reach out to these disciplines to make your research output more relevant. As I said, there is really a move towards focusing the research money to concrete challenges. So the pillar is solution-oriented, and it is organized along 6 so-called clusters. Now, these clusters have been identified with a view to what the European Commission is prioritizing, what is it trying to achieve over the next decade or so, with a view to the European Climate Pact. So the Green Deal, as you remember, Green Europe, that is stands at the forefront of the European funding program, Horizon Europe, but also the UN Global Goals for Sustainable Development. So these are, this is underpinning the thematic clusters. These, of course, are very, very complex challenges that are being identified. So when you're looking at potential calls, you have to kind of really look at the different thematic clusters to find the call that's of interest to you. And here are the different clusters that have been identified. So health, of course, culture, creativity, and inclusive society, civil security for society, for example, disaster management, digital industry and space, climate, energy, and mobility. This is the largest funding segment, and food, bioeconomy, natural resources, agriculture, and environment. So in each of these thematic clusters, there are calls for proposal. What is also new to Horizon Europe is the addition of missions. So once again, this is the attempt to focus the funding to specific thematic areas where the European Commission, alongside the member states of the European feels this is where we really have to put our money. So these are the missions that have been adopted for the first framework program, for the first work program: cancer adaptation to climate change, of course, healthy oceans, climate neutral and smart cities, soil health, and food. Who can benefit from Cluster 2? And first of all, I'd like to emphasize that international cooperation remains a key element to Horizon Europe. It is just as important as it was in Horizon 2020, which means the program is not only limited to participants from the European Union, but it is in principle open to participants from non-EU countries. In the call text, they will always be referred to as so-called third countries, and Malaysia is a third country. The good news is that Malaysia remains automatically eligible for funding. That is very good news. The Commission has narrowed this down, the list of countries that are automatically eligible. There are some that are no longer in that position, but in Southeast Asia, besides Singapore and Brunei, all other 8 ASEAN countries remain automatically eligible for EU funding. And I think that is very good news for us. Very important, and I want to emphasize this because there's always a little bit of misunderstanding. Cluster 1, as I said, funds individual researchers. So as an individual, you apply for an ERC grant or for an MSCA fund. Cluster 2 funds collaborative research projects. So these will be legal entities like UTM, for example, that are joining a so-called research consortium. So it's not you as an individual that will try to apply for a grant, but it is your institution that joins a research consortium. And just like it has been the case with Horizon 2020, the eligibility rules regarding the formation of these research consortia remain pretty much the same. Each consortium must have at least one legal entity that's established in an EU member state. There's 27 of those right now. And then at least 2 other separate legal entities that are established either in an EU member state or in a so-called associated country. Thereafter, once this minimum requirement has been fulfilled, the consortium can add on as many international partners, so-called third countries, as it makes sense for the consortium. And as I'm sure all of you know, the average consortium has about 6 to 8 partners. So once again, this is about collaborative research projects and the formation of research consortia. So for you, the opportunity to really join forces with European research actors and work together with them on research projects. This is just a little bit about the implementation. And as I've said, Horizon Europe is implemented through work programs. The first work program that is applicable for the duration of the next 2 years has been launched. There are around 2,000 calls for proposals in this work program, of course, related to all those clusters that I mentioned earlier on. Each proposal will focus on one specific topic with a problem that's sketched out in the call text, and you will have to then propose a particular solution to the challenge that is being presented there. I've just looked at here at a couple of calls that I thought would be interesting. The DG RTD thought that UTM might be interested also in the cluster health. And this also gives you an idea about the timeline. So the first calls, as I said, have already been launched in June, late June. And the deadline under Pillar 2 is reasonably short. Usually the average amount of time that the calls are open is 3 to 4 months, not longer than that. And you will see the after the closure of the call, in this case, it's mid-September. The evaluation takes place until the end of the year. Applicants would be notified whether they've been shortlisted at the beginning of next year, and the grant preparation would take place in spring 2022, and then the grants would be signed in April. So it's roughly 10 months between the opening of the call and the project being able to start. So here's just a few examples of what types of calls you would have expect in Pillar 2. So this is one on health impacts of climate change, cost and benefits of action and inaction. And I've hyperlinked this. I hope this works because I wanted to show you what this looks like when you're researching a call. Every funding opportunity under Horizon Europe is managed on the so-called funding and tenders portal. This is where you will find all information, all the call papers, all the documentation, all the all the application documents are there. And this is also where you will submit your application. So this is really a key website to keep in mind. This is the call in this case here. You would find all the relevant information on the website. This is what is the description of the call, the expected outcome, scope, which destination it falls in, the terms and conditions. But why I've clicked on this also is to show you this, and this is very relevant. This is the partner search. So there are currently already 50 organizations looking for collaborating partners. So if you think this is an interesting topic for you, but you don't have sufficient partners yet, that would be my advice, to use the tender and partnering portal to look for potential collaborators, and importantly also the other way around. This is an opportunity for you to add your name, your institution under those calls that you are particularly interested in. Now, I hope I can return now to my presentation. Is it showing my presentation again?
Yes, Dr. Susanna, I think when you, just now you tried to show the tender portal, right?
Yes.
In WebEx, it doesn't bring you to the website.
Okay,
so later maybe we can share the link, the URL, so that everybody can know. Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Okay.
My apologies. I wasn't aware. I've done that on purpose to show you. But just to summarize, if you click on this, if it's hyperlinked, it'll lead you to the tendering portal. And on the tendering portal, you will find all information that's relevant. And maybe afterwards, I'll go out of the presentation and I'll show you that again, because I think that's extremely important. So these are just some of the other calls that are currently open, just to give you an idea of the width and the breadth of the topics that are being tackled in the funding program. Oops. Now, what next? And I think this is very important. Again, I'm sorry that as Nohaida informed me, the hyperlinks will not work within this WebEx here. But the first next step, of course, is to inform yourself about Horizon Europe in detail. I've hyperlinked here the Horizon Europe Info Days. They were organized earlier in July by the colleagues of the European Commission. And this was an event over 10 days. Everything is documented there in recorded video material. Unfortunately, I can't show it to you, but you will have information on each thematic topic in those in Pillar 2. So if you're interested in the area of climate change, for example, you will have dedicated information through video material on the types of calls that are available there, what the Commission is looking for in a proposal, how you as a third country participant can participate, and how you can find potential collaborators. So this, to me, is really a treasure trove of information. So if you are serious about using this as an opportunity for your research career, maybe not necessarily this year, but next year, as I said, this is a 7-year program, that would be my key advice to do. Secondly, look at the funding and tender portal, which I just showed you. Again, what is most important there is the opportunity to identify potential collaborators, either looking through the list of institutions that have already placed their details there, and most importantly, placing your own details there as a potential collaborator. Thirdly, again, Pillar 2 is about collaborative research. You need to be part of a consortium. And as we've heard, there are eligibility criteria, which means there must be at least 3 entities based in Europe or in associated countries before you as a third country can join. So what you need to do at this point is to activate your European network. You need to engage with them. They're, of course, all aware. This is the biggest funding gig around in Europe. They are all already preparing their proposals. They may have already submitted them, but this is the time for you to really reach out and to see what are your European collaborators doing and whether you can join in one of the consortia. Maybe to add at this point in time, the UK is negotiating a partnership agreement, so they are already eligible for funding under the MSCA, and we are expecting them to also be eligible under Pillar 2. So you might also get in touch with your research partners based in the UK. And finally, do get support from the national contact points. Again, this is hyperlinked here, and it will lead you to a database where you can find the details of the national contact points in Europe according to their scientific expertise. So if you are a researcher interested in cancer research, you could, for example, reach out to the national contact point in Spain, if that is on your wish list to collaborate with, who is in charge of that particular thematic cluster in the framework program. So again, this is a wonderful support tool, but this would be my recommendation for the next steps. Now let me now focus on the MSCA in Horizon Europe. The MSCA, Marie Skłodowska-Curie Actions, it is a program that we've already found in the previous framework programs. There is not too much change in comparison to what we've had before. It is really a program that is focused on career development, skills training at all stages of a researcher's career, accompanying the researcher through their career development, but also at building international networks. These are the different actions, and you will notice, first of all, the Commission has taken note that the previous names were a little bit cumbersome, and they've made them easier to understand. So we have the so-called doctoral networks. They were previously called ITNs. These are opportunities for researchers to obtain their PhD. We have the postdoctoral fellowships. They were previously called IFs. And we have the staff exchanges, previously called Research and Innovation Staff Exchanges. The two elements at the bottom are Europe-specific. This is why I'm not going to mention them at this point in time. Now, I think what is the most relevant program, this is the MSCA Staff Exchanges. And I'm saying that with a view to research groups that are interested in applying to, in joining a consortium in Pillar 2. The MSCA staff exchanges, to me, are always like a stepping stone leading you towards that goal. It's an opportunity to kind of build a European network in a smaller context before you then kind of go in for the big money. The main objectives of this action is to foster international, intersectoral, and interdisciplinary mobility of research and innovation staff through so-called secondments. And maybe Nohaida can share also a little bit later on, because she has been part of one of these projects. It focuses on knowledge transfer between the different organizations that are part of the RISE consortium. It's also about collaboration between different sectors, hence the interdisciplinarity. And of course, it tries to really get the best ideas from around the world to find solutions for common projects. The expected outcomes of this are really international exposure, transferable skills, networking and communication, transfer of knowledge. So it's really building up a stepping stone towards the big funded research collaborations in a framework of different funding programs, for example, Pillar 2 of Horizon Europe. So the same criteria apply to the formation of a staff exchanges consortium that apply to other parts of Horizon Europe. So it must be a consortium of at least 3 legal entities in 3 different countries, 2 of which must be in a different EU member state or an associated country, and then of course there can be as many third country participants as it makes sense for the consortium. These are the staff exchanges, the so-called secondments. What's interesting about this project, I think, and it makes it very attractive, is that the exchanges, the staff exchanges, are not limited to just the very senior members of the consortium, but really any staff that is contributing to the RNI activities can benefit from the mobility. That can include your technical staff, for example, if they have a role in the project. It also involves researchers at any career stage, so your doctoral or or postdoctoral researchers that are part of your group can also participate in this program. Sorry, just give me a second. I think this is I'm sorry, Nohaida, this is ICA Singapore calling me. Okay, sorry, I just pressed them away. Apologies. As I said, I'm in quarantine right now, so they're checking where I am. Okay. So each of these staff exchanges project is funded for 4 years and has an amount of 360 person month, which means 360 months of mobility that can be utilized by the different participants in the project. Importantly, the call will open on the 7th of October this year with a deadline of 9th of March. This is no longer tentative. This is the confirmed deadline now. There is a budget of 72 million euros attached to it. So there's a huge opportunity for UTM to reach out to their European collaborators and form a staff exchanges consortium. This is the amount of money that's attached to this particular program. I'm just not going to comment on this. We can look at this later on. And this is these are the evaluation criteria. The evaluation criteria are similar across all the Horizon Europe calls for proposals: excellence, impact, and implementation. And this is something that that is really worthwhile looking at. Of course, excellence is important in any grant proposal. It doesn't matter whether it's Horizon Europe or a grant proposal that you're submitting to a Malaysian funder. So the funder wants to say that the idea that you have is of good quality and that there is benefit in spending the money on it. But it's really also looking at the consortium that you've put together. A lot of thought needs to go into this, why this particular group of institutions is proposing to work together and what it contributes to the research. Impact is extremely important, and the focus there is on the transfer of knowledge between the participating organizations. It is also on how participation in this particular project has a positive impact on the career development and the skills development of the participating partners. And also, this is here at the bottom, this is what the European Commission is really emphasizing in this new framework program. It's the scientific, societal, and economic impact that must not be underestimated. The importance of this is really trying to communicate the outcome of your research, not just to your specific scientific community, but to society at large. And in this context, I need to emphasize open science. Every beneficiary of Horizon Europe funding is obliged to make use of the open science tools that are available. the sharing of research output, of tools is what the Commission is really looking towards. So this should be a key element in your proposal. And finally, equally important, the quality and efficiency of your implementation. And by this, the Commission means how are you communicating your research to the rest of the world? You need to have really a very clear plan that is part of the proposal, which tools you're going to use to implement and communicate your science. So here's some tricks and tricks. I'll leave that to you to read later on. But once again, my advice would be to make use of the national contact points. You have the contacts in a few slides prior to this to get advice on your proposal. The MSCA postdoctoral fellowships, this is, of course, one of the key funding opportunities. The call opened in June and it closes on the 12th of October. This is an opportunity for individual researchers to spend up to 3 years in Europe to work on a research project that they themselves have identified with a collaborator, with a supervisor, with a host that they have identified themselves. So this is really an opportunity to enhance your innovative potential and to take your career to the next level. All nationalities are eligible for this funding and all scientific fields are eligible for this funding. There's some exclusion that relates to nuclear science because of security issues, but in principle, all scientific fields are funded. This postdoc fellowships is interesting in the sense that it is really about two-way mobility. We have two types of fellowships that are funded under this action. The European postdoc fellowships are addressed to researchers that are based outside of Europe and they want to come to Europe for 3 years and do their research there. The global postdoc fellowships are addressed to researchers that are currently based in Europe and they want to go into the world, for example, to Malaysia, to work with a researcher at UTM on a research project. So it's a wonderful opportunity also for institutions in ASEAN to get a Euro-based fellow to spend some time at their institution and work with them and to come with a really very generous fellowship. Here again are the some of the statistics or some of the data. The fellowship is funded extremely generously. I think here is some indication of how much money is available. It's really a program that allows the individual to focus entirely on their research. And if you were to host someone, they also come with their some contribution for the hosting institution to pay for their overheads. Here you can see the deadline this year, as I said, closes in October. We have actually, if you're interested, we have an information session just a little bit later today at 3 o'clock our time on Facebook with 2 evaluators. If you're interested to get some advice on a proposal, you could join us there. But if you would like to consider this, or some of your PhD students to consider this for the next year, the call will open again in April next year with a deadline of September. I'm not going to mention this again. This again is excellence, impact, and implementation are the assessment criteria that are really going through the entire Horizon Europe funding program. Here's just an overview of the calls that are coming up. So as I said, this is the PhD, sorry, the postdoc fellowship, the staff exchanges I've already mentioned for this year. And maybe if you need some time to prepare this, to set this up for the next call will open in October next year with a deadline of March 2023, and the turnover time is very similar, 8 to 10 months between the opening of the call and the outcome of the application. There are a lot of resources, of course, online, and as Nohaida, I'm sure, will share the slides with you afterwards, you can just look at this at your own leisure. Now, I wanted to spend also a little bit of time, if you allow me, to talk about EURAXES, because I really do think this is one of these tools that are really relevant. EURAXES is a European Commission supported project, and our mandate is to support researchers like yourselves in your career development and, of course, in your mobility endeavors as well. And another key aspect that we're trying to foster is to get researchers from various parts of the world together to work on joint projects. What we do is we provide free information and support for anyone who's interested in finding out what Europe has on offer, but also who needs some assistance in making use of these opportunities. So what EURAXES provides is primarily information. We have a website, but we have a lot of activities that are focused on keeping you updated. We provide opportunities, career and job opportunities. It's a platform for networking, career development, support, and I think this cannot be mentioned enough. EURAXES is an actual community of researchers. EURAXES is present in, let me just go back to the first slide here. It's not mentioned here, my apologies. EURAXES is present, of course, in Europe. We have currently 41 countries in Europe that are part of EURAXES. So the national research communities of these 41 countries are members of EURAXES and making use of the online portal. And EURAXES worldwide is present globally, not just in Southeast Asia, but in China, in India, in Japan, in Korea, in North America. We've just opened a presence in Africa as well. And why I'm emphasizing this, it's because what we have online is an opportunity for you to connect with researchers from these different research communities and really identify partners and identify opportunities. So as I said, key is really to find information. I've again hyperlinked all of this here. So if you look at the slides later on in your office or at home, this will lead you to the EURAXES website with lots of information on what are the key research areas in Europe. How do I find a partner? Who are the main funding agencies in one of those 41 countries in Europe that I just mentioned? So a whole host of information that's relevant to you. I think this is probably most attractive to the users of EURAXES, and this is the funding and jobs database, which really lists thousands of opportunities across the European research area and across Europe's international partner countries. Brazil, for example, has a lot of offers in the funding database. I had a look earlier on. So this really is an opportunity for you to identify funding and career prospects, but again, also for you as UTM to promote your own opportunities to global research talent, to make sure that those researchers are aware of what's happening in Malaysia and how they can partner with you. The partnering tool, and this is what I mentioned, this is why I think this is such a useful tool. It's an opportunity for you to search the database, not just for individuals, but also for research organizations and industry partners that are part of the EURAXES network. And the hosting database. I've just talked to you about the MSCA postdoctoral fellowship call, which is currently open. And one of the key obstacles that we notice amongst international applicants is how to find a European host, how to find a supervisor in Europe that wants to take you on and work with you on this fellowship proposal. And this is why we have this hosting database. I think there are 380 offers in there currently. So these are European institutions that are actively looking to host MSCA postdocs in the application. Again, an opportunity for you to also put in your offer if you are interested in hosting an MSCA Global Fellow at your institution at UTM. This would be the perfect platform for you to put in your offer and identify global research talent to work with you. Career development, and I think this is something that the project can be very proud of. This is very comprehensive material that you can use for yourself, but maybe also for PhD students that are under your care to support them in their career development progress. So there's a lot of training resources that are available free of charge online. And finally, personalized assistance that we have. We have ERC's service centers across the whole European research area. And these are, of course, useful if you are interested in, for example, going to Europe to spend some time there as a researcher, and you're interested in a particular institution, but you're still missing the funding. That would be the first port of call for you to reach out and get assistance. ERC's is, as I said, represented globally. There are 2 colleagues currently in Southeast Asia. Myself, I am based in Singapore, and my colleague Jenny is based in the Philippines, but she's going to move to Vietnam as soon as the COVID situation stabilizes a little bit. And we are your interlocutors. We are here to really help you make use of these opportunities. We do a lot of activities. Everything, of course, is online right now. You just see some of the activities that we've held in the past. Our focus is on really training you how to make use of these opportunities. We had a first session on the MSCA staff exchanges. We're going to have a training session in September, how you can join a MSCA staff exchanges research consortium. We do a lot of work on the ERC because this is a fabulous opportunity for researchers in Southeast Asia to get funded for very daring research ideas that they have. And we have a current session called Meet My Lab, an opportunity for research groups in Southeast Asia to get their work, give their work more prominence. So we invite research groups to join us for a virtual lab tour, and they tell our audience what they're doing and what kind of potential opportunities there are to join forces with international partners. Now, this presentation here is done, but I quickly wanted to just go and talk to you about the ERC. If you just give me a second, just see where my ERC presentation is. Let's see. Okay, I'm just
Susanna, would you like me to cover for a short sharing on my previous MSCA RISE project while you search for your slide?
Yes, please. That would be fabulous. Thank you, Nahida.
Okay, right. Okay, so I'm going to share some information on our previous MSCA RISE in Horizon Europe. It's called staff exchanges. Slight change in the name. Okay, so can you see it? Slide. Okay, I think it's coming.
Yes.
Okay, so a very brief sharing. Okay, to cover for Susanna. So this is our RISE project. It's called NEH. So when you do a proposal, it's very encourageable to find a very catchy name. Okay, so in our group, we come up with a NEH, which is the short form for high dimensional heterogeneous database animation technique for Southeast Asian intangible cultural heritage digital content. So there are many partners actually, and each of us are focusing on our strength. Okay, so these are our partners. The main our main partner is the Bournemouth University, along with Université d'Artois in France and another research institute, which is part of University d'Artois. And we have also, I'm sorry. So besides UTM, we have also partners from Thailand, and we have partners from Vietnam to work on different aspects of this research. Okay, so for us in UTM, we collaborated mostly in computer graphics technique, and also to capture data and to provide some data regarding local heritage. In our case, we studied on Zapin traditional dance, and we work closely with Yayasan Warisan Johor. And part of the activities are secondments. These are some of the activities. We send staff and also postgraduate students outbound to UK and also to France. And we also receive inbound secondments, the postdoctoral students, the staff, and we did it both ways. Okay, and the activities during the secondments involve discussion, presentation, and of course, all the works that we need to be done. Okay, so benefit of MSCA RISE, now it's called the staff exchanges to your institution, is to establish, of course, your career and also links between the organization. Okay. And also we also can expose our students, and also if you have staff, technical staff that need to have more exposures outside, then you can also benefit from this type of grants. And Dr. Susanna has shared with you the proposal presentation. And apart from that, for those of you who has done your secondments under Marie Skłodowska Co-Reaction, you are welcome to join the MCAA, Marie Curie Alumni Association, which I'm part of the members and also the committee. So I believe that's all, Susanna. I think we can pass this to you. Okay, let me stop my sharing.
Thank you, Dr. Ida. Thank you.
Right.
So I wanted to just briefly introduce you to the ERC grants. Now, if you remember the presentation at the beginning, we were talking about Horizon Europe and how it is structured, and pillar one was the excellent science pillar. So in the excellent science pillar, we find primarily the ERC grants and the MSCA grants. And you can look at it a little bit in career progression. So MSCA grants, Marie Skłodowska Co-Reactions, are about career development. They start at PhD training. They take researchers to the next level with a postdoctoral research fellowship. And then there's an opportunity for staff exchanges with a project that Nohaida just introduced. And then on top of that, the next level are the ERC grants. So the ERC is really, it's all about excellent science. It's really a sign that you have made it in your career if you obtain an ERC grant. A lot of the ERC grantees go on to win other prestigious fellowships. Not only does the ERC grant itself attract additional funding, but they then go on in their career to, for example, become Nobel Prize laureates and to make wonderful contributions to science. I think the team that made the first image of a black hole was funded through an ERC project. Just to give you an idea of what this is about, this is funding. It is pure bottom-up research. There are no predefined research areas. This is really about breakthrough frontier research. This would be addressed to someone who really has a very innovative idea, a research idea that maybe a normal funder would be hesitant to put their money in because it's a bit too risky. But this is really what the funder is looking for: high risk, high gain research funding. There are different types of ERC grants that are available. And I said previously, it depends on where you currently are in your research career, which one of these you are eligible for. It starts with the starting grant and is addressed at applicants that have between 2 and 7 years of research experience since they've completed their PhD. The starting grant has a value of up to 1.5 million. And as a researcher coming to Europe from outside of Europe, for example, from Malaysia, you would be eligible to an additional 1 million euros to kind of get started with your research. The projects are funded for up to 5 years. What is important, this research has to take place in Europe. So you cannot apply for an ERC grant and then just do the research in Malaysia or in Africa. It is bound to Europe. Importantly, you don't have to spend the entire time in Europe, depending on which grant it is. I think for the starting grant, you must spend, I think, 80% of your time in Europe. When you move on to the consolidator grant, which is the one next up, it is, I think, 60%. And then for the advanced grants, I think it is 50 or 40%. I'm not entirely sure, forgive me, but I will add it to the slides later on. So the message being, the more senior you are, for example, you're applying for an advanced grant, this is for someone really with an outstanding scientific track record, recognizable achievements in the last 10 years, you would be able to hold 2 positions, one in your home institution and the other one in your host institution in Europe. We have this scenario currently in Singapore with a researcher who's based at NUS, but they are holding their ERC position somewhere in Europe. So it is possible. A very interesting funding scheme, which is currently open for application, is the so-called Synergy Grant. And you see it here at the bottom. And the Synergy Grant funds small groups of researchers between 2 and 4 researchers that are working together. You can see the size of the grant is much bigger. The project duration is a little longer with 6 years. And importantly, in these synergy grants, one researcher can actually be based outside of the European Union or the associated countries, for example, Malaysia. So if this applies to you, you are part of a small group of researchers that are working on something really novel and innovative, that might be an opportunity for you to consider this grant. As I said here, opportunities for researchers that are outside of the European research area would be to get additional startup funding. I mentioned this before, it is 1 million euro, disregarding of which call it is or which grant it is that you're applying for. You can remain affiliated with your home institution outside of Europe, and team members can be based outside of Europe. So as a starting grantee, for example, you will be the PI, you will hire researchers, for example, a PhD student and a postdoc student to work with you on your research project, and some of your team members can be based outside of Europe. There's, again, lots and lots of information here. We held a webinar just earlier this year in April, and I will add our YouTube channel to the slides before I send them to Norhaida later today, because it is really worthwhile looking at this webinar to really get information on what's happening. Now, the ERC grants are extremely international. We have, I think, currently about 15 grantees from Southeast Asia. I am aware, I think, only of 2 Malaysian applicants. There is a little bit of hesitancy amongst the research community in Southeast Asia to apply, because they tend to be a little bit, what's the word? A little bit, well, how do I say this? I think that the emphasis on excellence should not be a deterrent. It should be an encouragement. It should really encourage everyone to try and get one of these ERC fellowships. So for the successful applicants that we're interviewing, they're always saying if they hadn't applied, they would have never known, and they wouldn't have expected their particular research topic to be selected, but that is what happened. I think, Norhaida, this is what I have to share on the ERC. So maybe just to quickly summarize. So Horizon Europe is a huge funding program. It will run for 7 years. It has thousands of opportunities that are attached to it. We need to differentiate between those programs that are under Pillar 1, which are targeting individual researchers. So you as an individual apply for an MSCA grant, or you as an individual apply for an ERC grant. And those funding opportunities in the second pillar, which are funding collaborative research. So this is about forming a research consortium together with European and global research partners. The first action now should really be to study the information, and please look at the hyperlinks that are in the presentation. Make best use of the Horizon Europe Info Days and look at the videos, the video recordings on the different thematic clusters. So it's very nicely organized, so you don't have to go through the whole shebang, but you can zoom in the particular scientific discipline that you are interested in. Make use of the opportunities that are listed on the EURAXESS portal to identify potential collaborators, and reach out to either EURAXESS here in Southeast Asia or the national contact points in the various European countries to get additional support in identifying partners, in identifying funding, and also in getting someone to look at your research proposal. And I think with this, I'd first of all like to thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to present this to you. Thank you so much, Norhaida.
Thank you very much, Dr. Susanna, for a very insightful presentation. There are some questions actually has been outlined. So in the meantime, you can also ask the Dr. Susanna directly if you want to. So let me share the. Okay, so these are some of the questions that I have collected. First of all, resubmission of rejected application. So if a proposal point is below 70%, is it not allowed to apply for next call year? I think we have this point in your slide. Yeah, Susanna?
Yes, exactly. This is this refers to the MSCA postdoctoral fellowship, and that is in fact true. Yes, they have tightened the eligibility criteria. The first one is that to be eligible, you must not have more than 8 years of research experience after receiving your PhD. And the second one is, in fact, if your proposal receives a scoring of less than 70%, you cannot apply again next year, but you could apply again the year after next year. So that is 2 years' time. The second question, does the contract staff under university allow to apply for staff exchange? Also contract staff. Again, the staff exchanges is very similar to the funding under Pillar 2, which is collaborative research. So this would be an opportunity, like Nahaida said, for her research group to be part of a research consortium. If UTM, if a research group of UTM is part of a staff exchanges consortium, contract staff can also participate in the mobility. And the final question, foreign staff at UTM, again, there is all nationalities are eligible. So if you are part of a research group at UTM and your group is part of a RISE project, and it doesn't matter whether you're Malaysian or Indonesian or German, you can benefit from the mobility under this particular program.
Okay. So Dr. Susanna has also shared previous activities that has been done either by UREX's ASEAN or EU delegation, and also in collaboration with MSCA. So the good thing is that although you missed the activities or the events, you can still find them in the YouTube channel, right? So perhaps later, if you get the slide, you can check all these talks and also sharing session via the YouTube channel that has been provided to you. Okay, so again, a reminder this afternoon at 3 p.m. if you are looking for more information on question and answer and how to prepare your postdoctorate fellowship, I'm going to share the link with you. It's going to be on YouTube, right? Facebook Live, right, Susanna?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
It's going to be on the UREX's ASEAN Facebook page. So you just type in UREX's ASEAN, it'll link you to our Facebook page. And at 3 o'clock, we have two experts. One is Dr. Brenwyn Hyde from the UK Research Office, and the other one is Dr. Brian Cahill. He works at the Leibniz Institute in Germany. He was previously the president of the Marie Curie Alumni Association, and they are both answering questions how to make your application for an MSCA postdoc fellowship strong and successful.
Okay, so don't forget 3 p.m. today, Facebook Live. Okay, reminder from RMC, the organizer, you will receive the recording and also the handout from Dr. Susanna. So go to the chat and please fill in the attendance form. Okay, so we are still waiting for a question. Any more question? Okay, while we have Dr. Susanna here.
If you don't have any questions right now, don't worry. As I said, you can always reach us via email or just really make use of our various websites and social media channels. I was hoping we could all switch on our camera so we can take a picture.
Yes, group photo please for attendance and evidence that this has been conducted. So can you please turn on your camera? Thank you very much. And thank you for attending this talk. Hope it is very beneficial to all.
Awesome.
Okay.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, another round. If you have any question before Dr. Susanna go. Okay, so I believe there's none. Okay.
Well,
so,
thank you.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Dr. Susanna, for your time, and also RMC UTM for organizing the talk. If you need to have any invitation talk done to at your institution, because we have some attendees from outside of UTM also. You can either reach out to Dr. Susanna directly, or you can also contact me, because I'm also the country representative for MCAA. Whatever related to Marie Curie reaction, I can try to find the respective speaker for you. Okay, and also I can try to get Dr. Susanna to your institution.
Yes,
Okay,
please
so
do. Please do. Please reach out to us. And just a reminder, we have lots of career development sessions lined up for you as well. We had already a series on science communication, how to make use of video. We'll have one on citizen science later on, and we have a whole series on, which I think is very important, mental health during the current situation. So we'll have a 4-part series later on. And of course, we're working with Taylor and Francis on a big series in October on getting published, peer reviewing, getting noticed for your research globally. So just keep an eye on our website and join us then.
Yeah.
Again, thanks so much.
Please follow URaccess ASEAN to get more information on the future events. Okay. So thank you very much, Madam Siti Rahima also.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Nur Haida and Dr. Suzanne from Research Management Center, UTM. Thank you so much.
Okay, so thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Stay safe, everyone. Bye.